Have you ever made a decision so cruel, so calculated, that it came back to haunt you in ways you never imagined? What if I told you that a millionaire once married someone just to win a bet with his friends, only to discover something on his wedding day that left him absolutely speechless? Before I reveal what happened, let me ask you this. Have you ever underestimated someone based on their appearance? Have you ever judged someone without knowing their story? Because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you think you know about people. This isn't just a story about a bet gone wrong. This is a story about karma, about hidden truths, and about a revelation so shocking that it shattered a man's entire world. If you've ever felt underestimated, if you've ever been judged unfairly, this story will resonate with you in ways you can't even imagine. And trust me, you need to stay until the very end, because the twist in this tale is something you absolutely won't see coming. So hit that like button right now, subscribe to this channel if you love emotional stories that leave you thinking, and drop a comment telling me, have you ever made a decision you deeply regretted? Before we continue, please tell us where you're watching us from. We love seeing the reach of our stories. Let's dive into this unbelievable story. Marcus Sullivan was the kind of man who had everything money could buy. At 32 years old, he lived in a penthouse that overlooked the entire city, drove cars that cost more than most people's homes, and wore watches that could fund a small business. He came from old money, the kind of wealth that spans generations, and he never had to work a day in his life if he didn't want to. But Marcus wasn't just rich. He was arrogant, shallow, and completely obsessed with appearances. To him, people were either useful or disposable, beautiful or invisible. He spent his days surrounded by other wealthy men just like him, a circle of friends who measured success by the size of their bank accounts and the attractiveness of the women on their arms. They would meet at exclusive clubs, sip expensive whiskey, and make bets on the most ridiculous things imaginable. Who could buy the most expensive gift without blinking? Who could date a celebrity? Who could pull off the most outrageous stunt? Their lives were empty, hollow, filled with nothing but competition and ego. One night, during one of their regular gatherings at an elite country club, the conversation turned particularly dark. They were laughing, drinking, boasting about their latest conquests, when one of Marcus's closest friends, a man named Derek, proposed something that would change everything. Derek leaned back in his leather chair, swirling his drink, and said with a smirk, "Marcus, you always talk about how you can have any woman you want. You think you're so smooth, so irresistible, but I bet you couldn't marry someone who doesn't fit your perfect little standards." The other men at the table laughed, intrigued by where this was going. Marcus raised an eyebrow, his competitive nature immediately triggered. "What are you talking about?" he asked, amused but curious. Derek pulled out his phone and started scrolling through social media until he found exactly what he was looking for. He turned the screen toward Marcus, showing him a photo of a woman. She was plus-sized, dressed simply, with a genuine smile that suggested she had no idea she was about to become the subject of a cruel joke. "Her," Derek said, his voice dripping with mockery. "I bet you $50,000 that you can't marry her within 6 months. Not just date her. Actually, marry her." The table erupted in laughter. Someone else chimed in. "Make it 100,000 and I'll throw in 2. Another added, "I'll put in another 50 if he actually goes through with the wedding." Marcus stared at the photo, his mind already calculating. $150,000 just to marry someone? It seemed almost too easy. Sure, she wasn't his usual type. She wasn't a model or an heiress. But money was money, and his ego couldn't resist the challenge. He thought about how he could charm anyone, how he had never failed to get what he wanted. This would just be another game, another trophy to add to his collection. "You're on," Marcus said confidently, shaking Derek's hand as the other men cheered and raised their glasses. They made it official right there, writing down the terms on a napkin like some twisted contract. Marcus had 6 months to meet her, court her, and marry her. If he succeeded, he would walk away with $150,000 and the ultimate bragging rights. If he failed, he would owe each of them $50,000. But Marcus had no intention of failing. To him, this was just another bet, another game. He had no idea that this decision would lead to the most humiliating moment of his entire life. Finding Olivia Rodriguez wasn't difficult. Social media made it easy to track people down, and within a day, Marcus knew everything he needed to know. She was 28 years old, worked as a teacher at a local elementary school, and lived in a modest apartment on the other side of town. She wasn't active on social media, didn't post much, and from what Marcus could see, she lived a quiet, simple life. She didn't go to parties, didn't chase fame. and seemed genuinely content with who she was. Marcus studied her profile like he was preparing for a business deal. He noticed she loved books, often posted about her students, and volunteered at a community center on weekends. She seemed kind, gentle, and completely unaware of the cruel world Marcus came from. Perfect, he thought. She would be easy to manipulate. Someone like her would be flattered by his attention, grateful even. He planned his approach carefully, knowing that he couldn't just walk up to her and start talking. It had to seem natural, coincidental. So he did his research and found out that Olivia went to the same coffee shop every Saturday morning. It was a small, cozy place tucked away in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of spot where people actually talked to each other instead of staring at their phones. Marcus had never been to a place like that in his life, but he put on his most casual outfit, practiced his humble smile in the mirror, and walked in that Saturday like he belonged there. Olivia was sitting by the window, reading a book and sipping her coffee. She looked peaceful, lost in her own world. Marcus ordered a drink and, as planned, accidentally bumped into her table on his way out. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," he said, putting on his most apologetic face. "I wasn't paying attention. Did I spill anything on you?" Olivia looked up, surprised but smiling. No, I'm fine. Don't worry about it." Marcus noticed the book in her hands. "Is that Pride and Prejudice? I love that book." It was a lie. He had never read it, but he had Googled her favorite books the night before. Olivia's eyes lit up. "Really? Not many people appreciate classic literature anymore." And just like that, the conversation began. Marcus sat down, and they talked for over an hour. He mirrored her interests, laughed at the right moments, and played the part of the charming, down-to-earth guy who just happened to stumble into her life. Olivia was smart, funny, and had a warmth about her that Marcus hadn't expected. For a moment, he almost felt bad about what he was doing. Almost. But then he remembered the $150,000 waiting for him, and any trace of guilt disappeared. Over the next few weeks, Marcus made sure to run into Olivia again and again. He learned her routines, showed up at places she frequented, and slowly became a part of her life. He complimented her intelligence, her kindness, her passion for teaching. He never once mentioned her appearance in a way that felt shallow. Instead, he made her feel seen, valued, appreciated for who she was. And Olivia, who had spent most of her life being overlooked and judged because of her size, started to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone like Marcus could actually care about her. As the weeks turned into months, something unexpected began to happen. Marcus found himself actually enjoying Olivia's company. At first, it was just part of the act. He would take her to dinner, walk with her through the park, listen to her talk about her students and her dreams. But somewhere along the way, the lines between the game and reality started to blur. Olivia was different from anyone he had ever known. She didn't care about expensive restaurants or designer clothes. She was happy with simple things: a good conversation, a walk under the stars, a homemade meal. She laughed easily, loved deeply, and had a heart so genuine that it made Marcus question everything about his own life. One evening they were sitting on a bench by the river, watching the sunset. Olivia leaned her head on his shoulder and said softly, "I never thought someone like you would notice someone like me." Marcus felt a knot form in his stomach. "What do you mean?" Olivia hesitated, then continued. "I've spent my whole life being invisible. People see me and make assumptions. They think I'm lazy, that I don't take care of myself, that I'm not worth their time. But you see me. You actually see me." Marcus didn't know what to say. For the first time since the bet began, he felt something he hadn't expected. Guilt. He looked at Olivia, at the vulnerability in her eyes, and realized that she had opened her heart to him completely. She trusted him. She believed in him, and he was lying to her every single day. He thought about telling her the truth, about ending the charade before it went too far. But then he remembered his friends, the bet, the money, and the humiliation he would face if he backed out now. So he pushed the guilt down, smiled, and kissed her forehead. "I'll always see you," he whispered, hating himself a little more with every word. The relationship continued, and Marcus played his part perfectly. He met her friends, spent time with her family, and even helped out at the community center where she volunteered. Her friends loved him. Her family welcomed him. Everyone thought he was the perfect man for Olivia. And Marcus kept telling himself that it was all just part of the plan. But late at night, when he was alone in his penthouse, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was falling into his own trap. Olivia made him laugh in ways no one else ever had. She challenged him, made him think about things beyond money and status. She talked about purpose, about making a difference, about living a life that mattered. And for the first time in his life, Marcus started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he had been living all wrong. But he couldn't stop now. The bet was still on, and his friends were watching, waiting to see if he would actually go through with it. So Marcus did what he always did. He doubled down. He got down on one knee, presented Olivia with a ring, and asked her to marry him. Olivia cried tears of joy, said yes without hesitation, and hugged him like he was the answer to every prayer she had ever whispered. And Marcus smiled, even as a part of him screamed that he was making the biggest mistake of his life. The wedding planning happened faster than Marcus expected. Olivia didn't want anything extravagant. She just wanted something small, intimate, surrounded by the people who truly mattered. Marcus, on the other hand, had to balance keeping up appearances with his friends, while also maintaining the illusion that he genuinely loved Olivia. His friends were thrilled. They texted him constantly, making jokes, placing side bets on whether he would actually go through with it. Derek even sent him a message saying, "Can't believe you're really doing this. Easiest money you'll ever make." Marcus laughed it off, but inside, something was eating at him. Every time Olivia looked at him with love in her eyes, every time she talked about their future together, he felt the weight of his deception growing heavier. She talked about the kids they might have one day, the home they would build together, the life they would share. And Marcus realized that while he had been playing a game, Olivia had been building a future. But he couldn't back out now. The wedding was set, the venue was booked, and his friends had already prepared the money. All he had to do was show up, say "I do," and collect his prize. It should have been simple. It should have been easy. But as the wedding day approached, Marcus found himself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering what the hell he had gotten himself into. Olivia, on the other hand, was glowing. She was happier than Marcus had ever seen her. She spent her days excitedly planning every detail, talking to her friends, picking out flowers, and imagining the moment she would walk down the aisle. She had no idea that the man she was about to marry had started this entire relationship as a joke. Marcus tried to push the guilt away. He told himself it was too late to turn back. He convinced himself that maybe, after the wedding, he could just stay with her. Maybe he could make it work. Maybe he could become the man she believed he was. But deep down, he knew the truth. He had built their entire relationship on a lie. And lies, no matter how well constructed, always have a way of coming to light. The wedding day arrived faster than Marcus was ready for. The venue was a small, charming garden overlooking a lake, decorated simply but beautifully. Olivia had wanted something intimate, and that's exactly what she got. About 50 people attended, mostly her family and close friends. Marcus's side was noticeably smaller. Just a few acquaintances and, of course, his group of friends who had made the bet. They sat in the back, trying to contain their amusement, exchanging glances and smirking like they were in on the greatest inside joke in the world. Marcus stood at the altar in his tailored suit, his heart pounding in a way he didn't expect. He told himself it was just nerves, just the pressure of the performance. But as the music started and Olivia appeared at the end of the aisle, something shifted inside him. She looked beautiful, not in the conventional way the world had taught him to recognize beauty, but in a way that was real, genuine, and absolutely radiant. She wore a simple white dress that fit her perfectly, her hair styled elegantly, and her smile so bright it could light up the entire garden. As she walked toward him, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Genuine emotion. For a moment, he forgot about the bet. He forgot about his friends watching from the back. He forgot about the money. All he saw was Olivia, the woman who had somehow managed to crack through the walls he had built around himself. When she reached the altar and took his hands, she looked into his eyes with so much love and trust that Marcus almost broke down right there. The officiant began the ceremony, speaking about love, commitment, and the journey two people take when they choose to spend their lives together. Marcus barely heard the words. His mind was racing. What am I doing? Can I really go through with this? But then the officiant said, "If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace." The garden fell silent. Marcus held his breath, half hoping someone would object, that something would happen to stop this madness. But no one said a word. And then, just as the officiant was about to continue, Olivia did something that no one expected. She let go of Marcus's hands, reached into the small bouquet she was holding, and pulled out a folded photograph. The entire garden seemed to freeze. Marcus stared at the photo in her hands, confused. "Olivia?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. Olivia looked at him, and for the first time since he had known her, her expression was unreadable. She slowly unfolded the photograph and held it up so that Marcus and everyone in the garden could see. It was a picture of a man. Not Marcus. Someone else entirely. The man in the photo was smiling, dressed casually, and standing in front of what looked like a university. Marcus's confusion quickly turned to panic. "Olivia, what is this?" he asked, his voice shaking. Olivia's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "This," she said loud enough for everyone to hear, "is Michael, my fiancé, the man I was supposed to marry 3 years ago." The garden erupted in whispers. Marcus felt his entire world tilting. "What? What are you talking about?" Olivia's hands trembled as she held the photo. "Michael died in a car accident 2 weeks before our wedding. He was the love of my life, Marcus. And I spent years trying to move on, trying to heal. I thought I had finally found happiness again. With you." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "But then, a week ago, I found out the truth." Marcus's blood ran cold. "Olivia, I know about the bet, Marcus." The words hit him like a sledgehammer. His mouth went dry. His legs felt weak. The whispers in the garden grew louder. "I know that you and your friends made a bet. I know that marrying me was just a game to you. I know everything." Marcus couldn't breathe. "How?" Olivia's tears finally spilled over. "Your friend Derek got drunk last weekend and told someone at a bar. That someone happened to be my cousin. Small world, isn't it?" The realization crashed over Marcus like a wave. His entire plan, his entire deception had been exposed. Olivia stepped closer to him, her voice breaking. "I wanted to believe you were different, Marcus. I wanted to believe that someone could actually love me for who I am. But you made me feel like I was worth something, only to remind me that to people like you, I'm just a joke." Marcus reached for her hand, desperation flooding through him. "Olivia, please. It started that way, but it's not like that anymore." Don't," she said, pulling her hand away. "Don't you dare tell me you love me now. Because even if that's true, it doesn't change what you did. It doesn't change the fact that our entire relationship was built on a lie." She turned to face the guests, holding up the photo of Michael again. "This man loved me, really loved me. He saw me, valued me, and wanted to build a life with me. And I lost him. I thought I would never feel that way again. But then Marcus came along, and for a moment, I believed in love again. I believed that maybe I deserved happiness." Her voice grew stronger. "But I don't deserve lies. I don't deserve to be someone's punchline. And I won't marry a man who sees me as a bet." She placed the photo on the altar, turned to Marcus one last time, and said quietly, "I hope one day you learn what real love is. Because this wasn't it." And with that, Olivia walked down the aisle, past the shocked guests, past Marcus's humiliated friends in the back, and out of the garden. Marcus stood frozen at the altar, unable to move, unable to speak. The whispers turned into murmurs, then into open conversations. People were staring at him, judging him, whispering about what just happened. His friends in the back weren't laughing anymore. They looked uncomfortable, embarrassed, avoiding his gaze. And Marcus realized in that devastating moment that he had lost something far more valuable than $150,000. He had lost Olivia, and worse, he had lost himself. The days that followed the wedding were the darkest of Marcus's life. He returned to his penthouse, the place that once symbolized his success and status. But now it felt like a prison. The expensive furniture, the designer clothes, the luxury cars sitting in his garage. None of it mattered anymore. None of it could fill the emptiness that had consumed him. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Olivia's face at the altar. The pain in her eyes, the strength in her voice as she exposed him in front of everyone. He replayed the moment over and over again, torturing himself with the memory of what he had done. His friends stopped calling. Derek sent him a single text that said, "Bets off, keep your money." But there was no humor in it, no camaraderie. Just a cold acknowledgement that their friendship, built on superficiality and cruelty, had finally crumbled. Marcus didn't care about the money anymore. He would have given anything, everything, to go back in time and make a different choice. But he couldn't. The damage was done. He tried to reach out to Olivia, sending her messages, leaving voicemails, begging for a chance to explain, to apologize, to make things right. But she never responded. Her silence was louder than any words could have been. It told him everything he needed to know. He had broken her trust, and there was no coming back from that. One evening, Marcus found himself standing in front of the community center where Olivia used to volunteer. He watched through the window as she helped a group of children with their homework, her smile genuine, her kindness unshaken despite everything she had been through. She was moving on. She was healing. And Marcus realized that the best thing he could do for her was to let her go. But the lesson she had taught him would stay with him forever. Marcus had spent his entire life measuring people by their appearance, their status, their usefulness to him. He had treated people like objects, like pawns in his games. And in the end, it was a woman he had underestimated, a woman he had tried to manipulate, who had shown him what true strength looked like. Olivia didn't need to be cruel to make her point. She didn't need to humiliate him the way he had planned to humiliate her. She simply spoke the truth, held her head high, and walked away with her dignity intact. And that, more than anything, left Marcus speechless. So let me ask you this. Have you ever judged someone based on their appearance? Have you ever underestimated someone because they didn't fit into your definition of what success or beauty should look like? This story isn't just about Marcus and Olivia. It's about all of us. It's a reminder that every person you meet has a story, a heart, and a value that goes far beyond what you can see on the surface. If this story made you feel something, if it made you think, then do me a favor. Hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, and drop a comment below telling me, what lesson did you take away from this story? Have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever made a mistake that changed your life? I want to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel because we share stories like this every week. Stories that inspire, challenge, and remind us of what truly matters in life. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, and for being part of this community. Remember, life isn't about how much money you have or how you look on the outside. It's about how you treat people, the love you give, and the legacy you leave behind. Marcus learned this lesson the hard way. Don't make the same mistake. See you in the next video.